Well, we do have the majority, so there's just some quick kind of technical things we can take care of in the beginning here. So this is Linda Yelly, Snohomish County Assessor. Go ahead and start the meeting for our Agriculture Advisory Committee to the Assessor's Office. In attendance currently is myself, Ellison Green, Keith Stalker, Marv Thomas, Andy Whitewing, Diane Wood, Matt Twilliger, and Quentin Schmidt. I do not see anyone from the public attending at this point in time. I believe all of you received copies of the minutes. So I think that we need to approve the minutes. Were there any corrections, deletions? Were they okay?
So move we amend the minutes, pass the minutes.
It's been moved. Second?
A second.
Okay. Approval for the minutes pass?
Yay. Yay.
Okay. Great. Agenda is fairly short, but we'll see how the conversations go. I wanted to give you a quick update on gathering information from the committee for leases. I have talked to our public records officer, and the current opinion, we're still kind of talking back and forth a bit about it, but the current opinion is that any documentation that we receive is subject to public disclosure. So,
okay.
Sorry, there's a
Eric says he'll be on in 2 minutes.
Okay, so that means that if the farmer is okay with that, then we can accept the documents. We need to keep them, and they will be subject to public disclosure. If the farmer is not, which I suspect many would want to keep this confidential, right?
Yeah.
We are trying to explore ways that we can still gather the information, or the farmers can have that input to the assessor's office on that information. So we've been talking about gathering it in general terms versus looking at a specific lease document and making sure
Linda,
that would be helpful.
If they submitted a redacted document that could be discovered, but the critical information is redacted, would that matter?
I would not want to advise them on whether or not to redact. I wouldn't want it to be a requirement. It probably would be better just if we got the information without having to have the lease. And that kind of saves, I think, on both sides, any requirement to release it to the public, so to speak, and keeps that confidentiality piece solid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what we've been talking about, and Andy and Diane, you guys can jump in at any time, and Quentin and Matt, is having a standard form where we would gather just basic information, and it can be via in person or on the phone, or through a committee member. So again, the lease document and the fact that it would be disclosable is either if we get in the assessor's office, or you as a committee member gather it as a committee member. If you have it in your possession via digitally or physically, it still is subject to public disclosure because you've received it as a committee member. So
if you gave us a form that you're asking us to complete, and we interview an individual and fill in the information, everything we record is discoverable.
Yep.
And if we leave fields blank?
Well, if we didn't have fields, that would require identification. So what we're really looking for, we really want to get an idea is what are certain types of properties leasing for? So if you're growing blueberries and it's a certain type of soil type, what's that leasing for? Not necessarily a specific farmer or a specific piece of land, but the type of land and the crops or the crop rotation. So that's the form that the team is going to be working on to just kind of gather that information. And then our meetings become a conversation about that information. Is that typical? Is that not typical? Are you aware of other types of properties and what they're leasing for? Instead of having the specific detail of that particular piece of property or that particular farmer.
Okay, so staff's gonna create that document.
Yep, Andy and Diane, I think, are working on it, right, guys?
I sent
Yes.
Matt and Diane some info and I'm waiting to hear back. Yes.
So Diane, when we had talked, because you're the one that's probably going to be doing the most work with this data and coming up with the values, you and Matt as well. Want to make sure that I'm expressing what you're looking for. And Matt, you had some particular terms that you wanted to use.
Well, what would really help us is if there is kind of a low, a mid, and a high lease rate. Really, there's 3 soil types we use in our valuation model pertaining to ag land and current use. And one is 1,600 an acre, one is 800 an acre, and then one is 1,100, and then the other one is 800. And so right now, what we've been kind of doing is just making sure that, similar properties that have the same soil layer on them, the same label of soil, that we have similar, rates applied to them. But my big question is kind of like, is that right? Is that how it's set up right? It seems, yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Eric's here.
somebody needs to mute.
Sorry for being tardy.
We hear you.
So sorry, Eric and Bob, we are just talking a little bit about the information that we're gathering and that we're trying to gather it more in general terms. We understand the confidentiality need for lease documents and not wanting to require that from a farmer so that become subject to public disclosure. So we're talking about gathering the information that we still need and in what form that would take place. So, and Andy, if you could add Bob and Eric, they've both joined the meeting as well. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, we want to just make sure that the rate amounts make sense to what's actually being leased, and then the other is that the criteria for choosing, our highest valued lease rate or soil type in this case, that we have the right criteria. Right now, when I took this over, there was nothing really written down explaining, because we have the 3 rates, and there was nothing really written down explaining why this property here gets one rate and this one over here has another. Now, visually, looking at these on aerials, similar properties are set up with similar rates, so that's a good thing. I just want to make sure that the criteria we're using makes sense to the experts.
Yeah, Matt, I had a question on that. We rent a couple hundred acres, and I've interviewed 4 farmers in the area, including myself, and are not mentioning any names, but our rates go anywhere from $90 to $125 an acre. So where do you get $1,600 and $1,800 from? Is that just a 1 acre plot, or where did that come from?
So that it's been historically adjusted, but not often. The last time I think it was adjusted was, 4 or 5 years ago. And so they take a cap rate. I forgot, I don't have the formula right next to me, but there's a formula that was used to figure out what the rate per acre should be.
And Marv,
It's wrong, because there's nothing been rented here in the last 30 years. It's been over $125 an acre that I know of in this valley. So maybe a
Yep.
smaller valley with a vegetable crop that's 2 acres, but historically it's been a lot lower here.
Marv, he's referring to assessed land value, not rental rates.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
So
okay,
I'm
talking
looking
about
at a 2010 minutes, and we have just a little graph that was on this particular document that had lease value of $75 per acre. The cap rate was 0.0858, so the indicated acre value was $874. We had another one with a cap rate of 0.0844, so the indicated acre value is $888.
Yeah.
So we're looking for the lease value, how much you're leasing for, and then we use a cap rate to come up with an actual assessed value for the land.
Okay,
And
what it would sell for.
Yep,
Mhm.
right. And so also some of the information is USDA statistics have been provided too. So that would be something we would research probably on our end and share with you, and using as a basis for these valuations as well. So back to the data that we need to gather. So like Matt said, it seems to be there's 3 categories of land or soil type rates that we're looking for. I think that what would be helpful, and Diane, please interrupt me, is if we know, we have a field that's a blueberries, and that it's being leased for this amount. And if you know the soil type, if you have that kind of information, then that would be helpful, correct?
Right, and also a location, like EB Island's going to be completely different from, like the Stilly.
So what kind of location in general terms? So you'd want East County, South County, or on like EB Island, just in general terms where it's at? It's, in the Snohomish vicinity, or it's in the Snohomish
Right.
Basin or something
Yeah,
like that.
Snohomish Basin, Stilly Basin, EB Island. Yeah, just a general location. And then we may also want to know like the date that the lease went into effect and then the number of years the lease is for. I mean, we'll put together the information that we need.
Well, and just because, Linda, you keep referring to blueberry leases,
Well,
and
it's just
I don't think you're gonna, I mean, in one sense, it's like, okay, the land that's supporting blueberries is maybe more valuable with that crop on it, but there's no blueberry land being leased, right? That's all of that's
Right.
owned outright.
Well, it could be corn, it could be hay, it could be raspberries, whatever the crop.
So I think,
and
just knowing what I know about who we might go talk to, all the ground I can think of is it's doing some sort of a forage crop, right? It's corn, it's grass.
Okay.
Up north, we probably can find some ground that's in rotation supporting seed crop.
Mhm.
But it's seed one year and then it's rotating into corn or something the next.
So knowing that, I think is helpful too. Keith, I
Right.
think that Marv at our last meeting, he had mentioned that some of the leases he was familiar with, that he did have a rotating cycle and what the crops were via that cycle. So I think if we know what the rotation is, then we can, what we're trying to, again, gather is what types of soils are good for what types of crops, and then what do they lease for that reason, I think is the information that's most helpful.
And so my question, I have a question for Matt around that soil. He has a 3-tier thing. Are you able to tell us how is it soil types in those 3 tiers, or you said there wasn't really any strong correlation?
So,
I'd be curious what your
what
breakdown.
I can deduce is that it has been historically based on based on slope. It seems like the more the slope, the less the rate that's being applied. I've seen that pretty consistent. So, that's why I really wanted to know, is that an indicator? I know that for certain crops, the slope might not be a bad thing. So, that's where I think we could probably do a bit better if we had more information, and we could stratify a little bit better based on, possibly what the crop is or the location. But right now, anything that has like almost no slope is in at the highest rate. And as just looking at property after property, anything that has like 15% or more slope is at that lower rate. Anything in between there is at kind of a mid rate. So just doing mass appraisal, that's to me how it looks like these rates were applied.
And our mapping system does show what the soil types are for all of the parcels in the county. So we could correlate them to that if we knew how, what Matt's after.
What
And you
about ground that is tends to have water on it more of the year? I mean, I lease some hay ground that or sharecrop it, and we've got some that we can't get onto it until June or July. But I'm guessing it's going to be almost identical soil type.
I think
It's flat.
I think the question, Eric, that we always look for is what is going to impact the saleability of that property? So if we have evidence that that property would sell for less because you have to lease it for less because of that factor that you can only get into it at a certain time of the year or what have you, that's the evidence that we're looking for, so we can apply that to these rates.
Right. Okay.
And can you refresh my memory? Last time we met, you were talking about how you assigned value when the land had unfarmable land, right? It had a wetland or it had a slope that couldn't be farmed. And you had a system that you set aside or did something, and I don't remember exactly what you said.
Well, when we look at a variety of property, and again, Quentin, you can jump in here. But when we look at a variety of property, if there are influences to that property, we can designate if it is wetland, and it may come in at a different rate because it's, for residential, it's non-buildable. If it doesn't perk, it's non-buildable land, and it would be valued at a different rate because it would sell at a different rate. So
We have a $100 per acre rate on that.
Diane, on that portion that's not farmable?
Correct.
Okay. So if you had a 40-acre field and a 10-acre corner of it was non-farmable, you'd apply the $100 an acre to 10 acres of it, and the other 30 got whatever one of these other 3 tiers applied.
Right.
And would that create like a composited value? Again, you guys had a system. You said you could look at a map and you would see that 10 acres was assessed at $100. And
Yeah,
30
you could, yeah,
acres
you
was
could,
$100.
there can be multiple land lines at
Right.
different rates. So you can say 20 at this, 10 at that.
Landlines, that was the term you used. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm coming back up to speed. Thank you.
Hey, who's gonna rent land for 100 acres, $100 an acre you can't farm?
That's the
It's
assessed
not the
value.
rental rate, it's the
Yeah.
assessed,
The assessed value.
what the current use assessment would be.
Okay.
So I think what we said we were trying to do today is identify places that we might go look for these lease or these rental rates at, right? We were going to try to do our best to go out and identify a reasonable number of leases and supply those back.
So Keith, maybe the easiest way would be for us to get the form created and get it out to you guys so you can see what kind of data we're looking for. And then, you can certainly have the farmer call us and we could take the information over the phone if you don't want to, or it's not appropriate for you to gather it. So I just think if we're going to go out and start to solicit that information from farmers, you need to know what are the pieces of information we're looking for, right? And that would be on that form. And then the method to get that information, whichever is most convenient for the farmer to provide it. I think that's, if that means a phone call, or if they want to just call us at their convenience and we'll take it over the phone, that will work too.
Oh, so you're taking us off the hook of having to do that.
Either way, I mean, it's very helpful because you understand, you have the connections, you understand the farm community, and the purpose. So if you can gather it and provide it to us, that's great. If the farmer wants to call us directly and provide it to us, that's great too.
So that's not public record, is it? When you just tell you what it is, rather than being on the form, Linda?
Yeah, anything that we take down, write down in notes is public record.
I mean, the farmer's name too, or not?
Yeah. Anything that we take down and put in writing and public notes is a public record. This recording is a public record.
So Linda, with that, so if let's say we have a list of farmers, we have a conversation, we need to write those names down too? Or is that just when they talk to you?
So if you
Like,
are,
is it record if we call, like when we pick up the phone and call them, is that public record that I called that person and I'm having a conversation with him?
public records are actually records. So that means things that are disclosable. That would be this film is disclosable, right? Because it will be a digital record.
Right.
Anything that's written down is disclosable because we're supposed to keep those things that we write down. Conversations are not disclosable unless they're recorded.
So we can have that conversation with farmers and leave it up to them how they want to proceed from there, and until they talk to you, or if, let's say I don't write
Yeah.
anything down,
Yeah, and
then
even
they're
when,
fine.
yeah,
So like if
even when
Marv
they,
wanted to call somebody and say, hey, this is what we're doing, could you reach out? That conversation between Marv and that farmer is fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
because there's no public record that's been
Yeah.
created, right?
Okay.
It's just a conversation.
Or
But,
what happens, what
go ahead.
happens in the event that we talk to the farmer, we interview them, we fill out all the information that you're looking for, sans their name. You know,
Yep.
what the lease rate is, what the rental period is, what crops
Yep.
are being grown, generally the vicinity of it, the
Yep.
geographic area. But we just happen not to put their name on there. And that's turned in by us.
Yes,
Then your document that is now discoverable has
yes,
pertinent information, doesn't disclose who that grower was.
that's correct.
Okay.
But if your staff calls them up and talks to them, their name does become discoverable.
Not unless they write it down, not unless it becomes a record.
So
So the only
if
times
the
that,
form does not have anywhere to put a name on it,
correct.
Okay.
Because we really are just trying to get we're trying to get value information that we can use to substantiate the values that we determine for the property.
Okay. So the form you guys are creating will not have a place for a name. Got it.
It also won't have a place for a parcel number. And
Okay.
although it may not be convenient for many farmers, they will also have the option of coming to the front counter and having probably me just sit at a table and have the same kind of conversation with them
Okay.
that one of the committee members would, and all I would be writing down is whatever we devise the form to include.
Okay.
yeah, my guess is you'll be hard pressed to get anyone to take the time to come in.
Yeah. So the purpose is not to hide information or anything like that, you know, it is just to gather pertinent information needed in the valuation of the property. But when it comes to the lease documents, we want to make sure that the farmer can keep his private information private, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Linda Nunzig was going to contact some people up north. I don't
Mhm.
see her on here
She was
today.
offering the names of some people
Oh,
that
okay.
we might speak to.
That would be, oh, good. Okay. And the other thing is, after we collect the information and come up with the rates, we can show you how we do that calculation with the cap rate. So we'll, you know, at a later time in another meeting, we can go over all of that with you. So you can see what is done with the lease rates and how the assessed values are determined from those.
Okay.
Okay.
Sound like a plan?
Yeah. So I think we just
I guess-
we're gonna
I'm
have to. I'm sorry. There's
Go ahead,
like a
Allison,
lag,
I'm sorry.
sorry. No, there's like a lag on my end. So we just need to come up with some names between us for who we're gonna reach out to, and then divvy that out. Or I mean, okay. I do a lot of driving, so it's no problem for me to drive by places and talk to people. If that helps everybody out, but okay, so
Allison,
that's our next step.
Allison, are there very many equestrian operations that are on leased land?
You know, it's this whole conversation has brought me to wonder that. I don't know. It's not usually a conversation I have. Definitely not the ones that I end up selling or buying, but I think there are some that even a portion of them are. So I don't think it's the whole facility, but there's a piece of it, like a separate parcel that might be. So kind of after this conversation, and once that form is there, I'm going to hit my database and see who I have that maybe has some leases, because I think there are, but it would be a little bit probably more north than here for those properties, because the ones that we have in Snohomish, they're just not big enough. but I can think of maybe 2 that might be leasing.
Is the assessor's office able to tell us if there's equestrian facilities that are in open space?
Yeah, I think I can look that up, but it would be easier for sure if that's a list that was sent. I don't think I can search for that in title. So I was just going to hit the county and just kind of see if I could find it myself. But if somebody has a faster, easier way to do that, that would be helpful.
Well, I may not be aware of all the ways we can search data as I'm relatively new, but for the open space classifications, there is not a separate one for equestrian versus farm and agriculture. So it may not be something that we're able to, I'm not sure, maybe Diane or Matt knows a way.
We now have an influence code on those parcels, so we should be able to search by that. They may not be on all the equestrian properties, but
Sure.
some of the bigger ones.
Okay.
Yeah, it may take a little fishing, but we can find them. So
Oh,
we can
okay.
definitely provide you with some properties.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be great.
Question for Linda.
Yes.
Just say Marv Thomas interviewed 6 of the biggest leasers in the Snohomish River Valley, and these were the rates. Would that suffice as far as not identifying them if I did it that way?
Yeah, it's just we need additional information besides the rates. So it's just looking for those other different data points. So.
Okay.
Yep, that would work.
I think Rhodes River Ranch does some leasing. I think I remember that they had done some. I'm not 100% sure.
And they're in open space, Diane?
Yes, they are.
So I'm going to put my team members on the spot just a little bit. When do you think you might be able to have that form ready to send out to these guys? Matt, Diane,
By next week.
Andy, next week?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. Does that work for you guys, Marv, Keith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be gone March 8th to the 15th.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. We should have it before then.
And what is our time frame concerning as far as how many people do you need us to talk to, and how soon do we need to have this back to you?
Well, I think as much information as we can get. So I don't know if there's a minimum or maximum of how many people to involved. When, Diane, would you like to have the information submitted by for your analysis?
That's a good question. I should probably get together with Matt when we send out the form. We could include that.
Okay.
I seem to recall you had like a May 15th deadline.
Yeah,
You had to have things done by, so you needed to back up from that, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I had a May 31st was when things are closed and you wanted it before that.
So I guess my question would be, when do we want to have our next meeting? Because one of the things Diane wanted to do is she wanted to run this by them once you've got some information together. When would the next meeting be?
I would think in April. I mean,
Okay.
maybe March would be collecting the information. And then early April. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I think April, mid-April would be good.
Okay.
Committee, how does that sound to you?
That's fine.
That works.
So we're getting the
I think
information
few
to
of
you
us
though
will
in
probably
March.
need to kind of determine who we're going to contact so we don't contact the same people multiple times. One large dairy in Monroe comes to mind because I know Bob and I both have direct contacts with them, and they lease a tremendous amount of ground.
I think we can make that list outside this meeting, correct, Linda? We don't have to do that.
Yeah, what we can't do is have a meeting outside this meeting. So,
Right.
so it needs to be.
But via email, that's secure. That's not is that we'll have our secure emails.
You'll have your
That's a
secure
better way.
emails, but still emails are subject to public disclosure again.
Okay.
So we're not sending lease information across by email.
How are we doing the name situation
Well,
without?
I think it would have to be just either direct conversations,
Yeah.
one-on-one.
I think
Not,
one-on-one.
we just can't
Okay.
meet as a large group.
That's
Right,
correct.
okay.
Yep,
But two of us can talk on the phone in
yep,
the normal course of our daily activities.
yes.
And then we'll just divvy up those names accordingly.
Well, is
In
there any
private
reason we
conversation.
can't brainstorm a dozen names right now?
Sure, sure.
Other
Right.
than it's public record, right?
Well,
Yeah, this
that's
is
still-
recorded.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I would
So if we
suggest
do,
not.
If we say it in the
Yeah.
public record, then it's discoverable.
Yeah.
Right.
Data from
Yeah. so we'll sort it out among ourselves.
But not in a large group setting.
Correct. We will not have quorum.
Correct.
That's
Well, we
so
might
silly.
just be able to divvy things up by geographic area too.
That would probably be a good idea.
I mean, I'll take the Stilly Valley, and
But part of it comes
Bob
down
and
to
Eric can fight over Tawalco and Skycomish.
part of it comes down to who we know, though.
We'll let Marv be a slacker and take the Snohomish Basin. And then that leaves Allison tracking down.
Yeah.
horses, I
You
guess.
just give me wherever you want, then I'll drive around.
So in general, if we did that, we can talk offline about who we think's in our target areas and then come up with probably a dozen or so.
Okay, and then you said the team would be able to look up the open space equestrian for me.
Diane, yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Diane, could you send that to Allison?
Yeah.
We don't have emails set up yet. At least I
Oh.
don't.
Okay.
I don't have it set up yet. I haven't seen that come through.
I can ask Linda where we are with that, Linda Nunzig.
We'll try to find 10 to 20 properties. Try to maybe
Okay.
different locations geographically, like north, south, east, west, and that we should be able to do that also probably by next week.
Okay, cool. And yeah, location doesn't really, I mean, whatever works for you guys. I'm up and down the I-5 corridor all the time. So whatever,
Okay.
whatever is most helpful for you.
great.
Okay,
All right.
sounds like a plan.
The like plans next week.
Anything else you guys would like to discuss? So for the next formal meeting, I did find, or I didn't find it, my team found copies of bylaws that were created in 2009 when the first committee, agricultural committee, was set up. So I think that we'll send those out to you just in case you choose to incorporate into how, to utilize or set up bylaws for this committee. We'll send out a copy of the example for you.
Great.
And they're compliant with the current RCW.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate your time. If there's nothing else, I think we can adjourn.
Great. Thanks for keeping it brief.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.